Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, this early. I'm going to quickly go through the structure of the workshop. So the workshop is going to start by a short presentation where I'll be introducing to you the concept of appropriation with some examples of it. And after that, we're all gonna split into 3 groups, depending on your interest. And in the breakout rooms, each led by my colleagues, you'll be given a more practical information on the topic of appropriation or aspects of sampling. It's going to be either sound, text, or collage. I hope you guys brought something to work with. But in case you didn't, I think it's fine because like each group will have some kind of an archive, so you'll be able to find some materials for your experimentation. If you don't have any questions, I guess I can move to the presentation. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so what is appropriation? Appropriation is a technique applied in arts, film, music, or culture. Consciously or not, it is something we're all very familiar with. It is everywhere, and everything and everyone is kind of a sample on its own. And whether artistic or genetic, combination is what makes things authentic or creates new meanings. Recyclability, or working with an existing materials, is the core of this concept, and other ways of identifying it can be sampling, remixing, or replicating. It is appropriation is like it's considered to be a modern technique. It belongs to a long tradition of modernism, but of course it can be found in a much earlier examples of art, because copying, as we know, it has always been a very important aspect in skill development, like any development actually, but especially artistic. This example, these collages are by an American artist, Christian Markley, whom I'm going to mention more later. But yeah, for example, this work by Manet from 1862, he actually borrowed his composition for this painting from this work. I can't see my mouth. Wait. But yeah, I tried to mark this detail in the right corner. This is the detail that he used from an Italian engraver, Raimondi. And later, this work was sampled by Picasso for this one. And he made, I don't remember, 28 variations, I think, of this painting. Yeah, Picasso, he has a great style, we know that, but he was actually borrowing a lot, kind of stealing even from African culture. But yeah, that's what he believed great artists do. So yeah, I thought it will be important to mention Marcel Duchamp, because he completely changed the way we look at art today, as he introduced his ready-mades. Ready-made is one of the strategies of appropriation, which means using an existing object, like you can also call it object truer, I think. So yeah, with this fountain, our idea of art was completely changed, because now artist could be someone who doesn't necessarily create something, but someone who just finds an object from an everyday life and chooses, kind of extracts it and brings it to the art world. So yeah, someone who recognizes something as an art object. This was a great push for conceptual art, as now material aspects of any work yeah, just weren't important that much anymore. Surrealists quickly adopted this technique. This is an example of Salvador Dali's Lobster Telephone from 1936, a sort of physical collage, we can call it this way. This one is from a German artist, Hannah Hoch. I really like her work. She was a member of Dada group and a pioneer of photomontage. Photomontage is a type of a collage that like it's different in the way that each of the elements here can exist on its own. It has a meaning, while in collage, what makes sense is the final mashup of things. And also photomontage is a very political strategy, I would say, or at least mostly, like it's always political. I wanted to include this this reference. Everyone's favorite Pulp Fiction, the scene where Uma Thurman and Travolta are dancing, is actually an homage to Fellini's movie called 8½. It's a really good one. We can see the similarities. Can you see my screen? No? Okay, I don't know how to do this. No presentation.
You may need to pop the video out into a separate tab. I've had to do that before.
Okay, I think it's fine. You can just look it up if you're interested. Here is another work by a previously mentioned Christian Marclay. he's also a pioneer of this mode, and yeah, he mostly uses appropriation and sampling in his work. This one is quite interesting. It's from 2010, and it's a 24-hour movie. It took him long to work on this one, and he even had like a crew and all the people who were helping him. So basically what he did is he sampled all the scenes of the time, or like a clock, from an existing movies, and glued them together so that each frame in the movie corresponds to an actual time in real life. So it's crazy, right? Like he has a 24-hour movie and each second is, you can see it there. Another example is Led Zeppelin. It turns out that almost all of their songs were stolen from this guy or like some other people, but even the names of the tracks are the same, and I don't know. I personally didn't know about that, and I was kind of like, I was a bit shocked to discover it. But yes, like all the music is completely stolen and without even like major changes. I also included Drake because he's a very fun guy. In his Hotline Bling, he sampled this other guy, Timmy Thomas. It's a really nice track, actually. You should check it out. And unfortunately, I can't play it now because I didn't know I should prepare something in advance. But yes, there is a nice website also called whosampled.com. If you're interested, if you want to find out something about something, like some specific track, you can find all the references there. It's very useful. It's very fun. The last work that I included in this presentation is this work from 2002 by Corey Arcangel, an American artist, who hacked an original Nintendo game, did some coding, removed all the elements from the game except these clouds. And yeah, it ended up as a like installation piece that's just looping forever. It's a very nice one. Like he mostly works with the idea of preservation or preserving the artifacts, disappearing artifacts, cultural artifacts. So yeah, I think it's a good one. Now we're gonna watch a video. It's a 10-minute video, but I think it has a lot of interesting information about the history of copyright. So but I don't know what to do with this screen thing.
I think you should open it in a separate tab and then reshare your screen so that we can see your specific tab, because that should work.
Right. Okay, let me do that. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks to iStockPhoto for contributing footage to this episode. Check them out at iStockPhoto.com.
You should unmute, because then we can hear.
Sorry?
If you mute yourself, we can't hear anything.
Right.
Billion years to a single organism, Luca, the last universal common ancestor. As Luca reproduced, its genes copied and copied and copied and copied, sometimes with mistakes. They transformed. Over time, this produced every one of the billions of species of life on Earth. Some of these adopted sexual reproduction, combining the genes of individuals, and altogether, the best adapted life forms prospered. This is evolution. Copy, transform, and combine. And culture evolves in a similar way, but the elements aren't genes, they're memes, ideas, behaviors, skills. Memes are copied, transformed, and combined. And the dominant ideas of our time are the memes that spread the most. This is social evolution. Copy, transform, and combine. It's who we are, it's how we live, and of course, it's how we create. Our new ideas evolve from the old ones. But our system of law doesn't acknowledge the derivative nature of creativity. Instead, ideas are regarded as property, as unique and original lots with distinct boundaries. But ideas aren't so tidy. They're layered, they're interwoven, they're tangled. And when the system conflicts with the reality, the system starts to fail. For almost our entire history, ideas were free. The works of Shakespeare, Gutenberg, and Rembrandt could be openly copied and built upon. But the growing dominance of the market economy, where the products of our intellectual labors are bought and sold, produced an unfortunate side effect. Let's say a guy invents a better light bulb. His price needs to cover not just the manufacturing cost, but also the cost of inventing the thing in the first place. Now let's say a competitor starts manufacturing a competing copy. The competitor doesn't need to cover those development costs, so his version can be cheaper. The bottom line, original creations can't compete with the price of copies. In the United States, the introduction of copyrights and patents was intended to address this imbalance. Copyrights covered media, patents covered inventions. Both aim to encourage the creation and proliferation of new ideas by providing a brief and limited period of exclusivity, a period where no one else could copy your work. This gave creators a window in which to cover their investments and earn a profit. After that, their work entered the public domain, where it could spread far and wide and be freely built upon. And it was this that was the goal, a robust public domain, an affordable body of ideas, products, arts, and entertainment available to all. The core belief was in the common good, what would benefit everyone. But over time, the influence of the market transformed this principle beyond recognition. Influential thinkers proposed that ideas are a form of property, and this conviction would eventually yield a new term, intellectual property. This was a meme that would multiply wildly, thanks in part to a quirk of human psychology known as loss aversion. Simply put, we hate losing what we've got. People tend to place a much higher value on losses than on gains. So the gains we get from copying the work of others don't make a big impression. But when it's our idea being copied, we perceive this as a loss and we get territorial. For instance, Disney made extensive use of the public domain. Stories like Snow White, Pinocchio, and Alice in Wonderland were all taken from the public domain. But when it came time for the copyright of Disney's early films to expire, they lobbied to have the term of copyright extended. Artist Shepard Fairey has frequently used existing art in his work. This practice came to a head when he was sued by the Associated Press for basing his famous Obama Hope poster on their photo. Nonetheless, when it was his imagery used in a piece by Baxter Orr, Fairey threatened to sue. And lastly, Steve Jobs was sometimes boastful about Apple's history of copying.
We have, always been shameless about stealing great ideas.
But he harbored deep grudges against those who dared to copy Apple. I'm going to destroy Android because it's a stolen product. I'm willing to go thermonuclear war on this. When we copy, we we justify it. When others copy, we vilify it. Most of us have no problem with copying as long as we're the ones doing it. So with a blind eye toward our own mimicry and propelled by faith in markets and ownership, intellectual property swelled beyond its original scope, with broader interpretations of existing laws, new legislation, new realms of coverage, and alluring rewards. In 1981, George Harrison lost a $1.5 million case for subconsciously copying the doo-wop hit He's So Fine in his ballad, My Sweet Lord. Prior to this, plenty of songs sounded much more like other songs without ending up in court. Ray Charles created the prototype for soul music when he based I Got a Woman on the gospel song It Must Be Jesus. A series of new copyright laws and regulations began to be introduced, and many more are in the works. The most ambitious in scope are trade agreements. Because these are treaties and not laws, they can be negotiated in secret, with no public input and no congressional approval. In 2011, ACTA was signed by President Obama, and the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, currently being written in secret, aims to spread even stronger U.S.-style protections around the world. Of course, when the United States itself was a developing economy, it refused to sign treaties and had no protection for foreign creators. Charles Dickens famously complained about America's bustling book piracy market, calling it a horrible thing that scoundrel booksellers should grow rich. Patents coverage made the leap from physical inventions to virtual ones, most notably software. But this is not a natural transition. A patent is a blueprint for how to make an invention. Software patents are more like a loose description of what something would be like if it actually was invented. And software patents are written in the broadest possible language to get the broadest possible protection. The vagueness of these terms can sometimes reach absurd levels. For example, information manufacturing machine, which covers anything computer-like, or material object, which covers pretty much anything. The fuzziness of software patents boundaries has turned the smartphone industry into one giant turf war. 62% of all patent lawsuits are now over software. The estimated wealth lost is $500 billion. The expanding reach of intellectual property has introduced more and more possibilities for opportunistic litigation, suing to make a buck. Two new species evolved whose entire business model is lawsuits: sample trolls and patent trolls. These are corporations that don't actually produce anything. They acquire a library of intellectual property rights, then litigate to earn profits. And because legal defense is hundreds of thousands of dollars in copyright cases and millions in patents, their targets are usually highly motivated to settle out of court. The most famous sample troll is Bridgeport Music, which has filed hundreds of lawsuits. In 2005, they scored an influential court decision over this 2-second sample. That's it. And not only was the sample short, it was virtually unrecognizable. This verdict essentially rendered any kind of sampling, no matter how small, infringing. The sample-heavy musical collages of hip-hop's golden age are now impossibly expensive to create. Now, patent trolls are most common back in that troubled realm of software. And perhaps the most inexplicable case is that of Paul Allen. He's one of the founders of Microsoft. He's a billionaire. He's an esteemed philanthropist who's pledged to give away much of his fortune. And he claims basic web features like related links, alerts, and recommendations were invented by his long-defunct company. So the self-proclaimed idea man sued pretty much all of Silicon Valley in 2010. And he did this despite no lack of fame or fortune. So to recap, the full picture looks like this. We believe that ideas are property, and we're excessively territorial when we feel that property belongs to us. Our laws then indulge this bias with ever-broadening protections and massive rewards. Meanwhile, huge legal fees encourage defendants to pay up and settle out of court. It's a discouraging scenario, and it begs the question, what now? The belief in intellectual property has grown so dominant, it's pushed the original intent of copyrights and patents out of the public consciousness. But that original purpose is still right there in plain sight. The Copyright Act of 1790 is entitled An Act for the Encouragement of Learning. The Patent Act is to promote the progress of useful arts. The exclusive rights these acts introduced were a compromise for a greater purpose. The intent was to better the lives of everyone by incentivizing creativity and producing a rich public domain, a shared pool of knowledge open to all. But exclusive rights themselves came to be considered the point, so they were strengthened and expanded. And the result hasn't been more progress, more learning, it's been more squabbling and more abuse. We live in an age with daunting problems. We need the best ideas possible. We need them now. We need them to spread fast. The common good is a meme that was overwhelmed by intellectual property. It needs to spread again. If the meme prospers, our laws, our norms, our society, they all transform. That's social evolution, and it's not up to governments, corporations, or lawyers. It's up to us.
Okay, so that was it. Let me bring the presentation back. Here is some books to read. I'm gonna send this presentation to you later. And now it's time to divide into groups.
Hi, hello. I'm Nadia. We are the collage part. We're going to talk briefly. I'm going to show a presentation. We're going to discuss a brief history of collage, contemporary collage issues, personal tips and tricks, professional people's tips and tricks, everything that you need to know, the beginning stuff, some high-end stuff.
Yeah, and from my part, sorry, I'm gonna introduce you a little bit to glitch art. I think we all know what it is, but maybe there's some aspects of it that are unexpected. And I'm gonna share one really nice script in a easy program to generate some interesting images.
In the second room, we have Sofie and Anthony.
Yes. So, this is the fun part. So we're going to sample text from a word, and then eventually we will end up having our own language that we developed, and you see the possibility of even text can be sampled, copied, as said from the video we just see. The text can be copied, transformed, and then combined, and like a lot of philosophical text, they in order to like to describe something better, they invent their own words, and as a reader, it's like a puzzle, and you have to solve. And in this workshop, we are not going to solve a puzzle, but we are going to make a puzzle, and eventually, if people have to read it, they have to solve our puzzle. That's it.
Thank you. And the third group is Orchida and me. Orchida, do you mind introducing the...
Sure. So me and Liz, we will talk about sound sampling, and we will have a little practical exercise with it. We will take some silent movies, and we will make a soundtrack for them using free libraries of sounds. And it's okay if you didn't bring any samples, because we will provide a folder and you can use our ones, or you can find right now. It's also fine.
So I will open breakout rooms. They are labeled for each specific exercise, so everybody in the call can select the workshop that they want to be doing. The workshops are going to be lasting about 45 minutes, and then we'll quickly return back to the main room to do a short little reflection on everything. And so now you have the option to choose which exercise you want to do, and I'll open the rooms now. So you should be able to choose for yourselves. Collaging in the breakout room number 1, a language/text exercise with me and Anthony in 2, and there's a sound exercise with Orchida and Elizabeth in the 3rd breakout room.
I actually want to hear about text.
Yeah.
Yay. Sophie, can you send her the link to the Miro?
Yes, I can. Is this? Yes. So we have this software. It's called Miro, and it's like a digital whiteboarding software where we have the opportunity to work together and create language. I think you have to log in. But after that, you should be able to just be in the sheet yourself.
Oh my god, what's my role? I will be engineering. I'm here.
Yay! Can you also see us?
I can see you.
Hell yeah.
Yay. So welcome to our language workshop, and so it's about sampling text from a word. So so here we have the word archive, and then this is like a short description of what archive can mean. It's just some text for you to think about, and then the task we do now is to invent a new word that say the same thing as archive. For instance, here you can see in this small box, there's some tricks you can use. For instance, in German, they oftentimes use words to combine, like 2 words to combine with each other to mean something. For instance, farewell. Fan means distant or to see. Well is like ache, some kind of pain, and so together it kind of means an ache to see something in distance, so it means a longing to travel and to see. And the second trick is to use hyphen. For instance, in between. And a lot of times, for instance, Joseph Beuys is an artist and also a politician, and so he can introduce himself as I'm an artist politician and use hyphen in between. And the third one is like what philosophers do. They use synonyms and make a word. For instance, worldliness here, it kind of means the sense of caring for the globe, but it's not necessarily globalization, because globalization is more to do with the economy and the tradings. But he want to talk about the world is so dynamic and is a whole, and we need to care this world. So there's an extra layer of care. So he used the word world and then make it into a adjective, so worldly, and then make it into a noun, so worldliness. And then the fifth trick is to involve something from your own language or other language that you know. For example, someone who is Polish, and she might use something in her language and combine with some words in English to make a new word. So these are tricks for making new words. And now you see my point. Now let's try in the underneath blue box to invent your own word. That kind of means archive, but it can mean something a bit different. So because archive can also mean a lot of things. So let's do that. Can we?
Yeah. So you see some shameless promotion of my thesis topic here.
So let me write.
And you should just be able to sort of like tap straight into the boxes and type into them. So the thing should be set up properly to interact with it as easy as possible.
Yay! So now we have 4 new 4 new words.
Wait, did I do it wrong?
It's better that is a word that doesn't exist.
I see. I thought so. Okay.
Can just change the recipe for. Rinse. Yay! Yes. Now we have 4 new words, right? And our task now is to write the definition of this new word that we made. So choose a gray box underneath a word that you didn't make. So for instance, archive is not a word that I make, so I would make a definition for it. So just see the words and try to make a definition for it. It can be very imaginative. You can also be very serious. For instance, saying that okay, this is for instance, if this is a verb form, then it means this. If this is a noun form, it means this. You can be serious, but you can also just say okay, it means archive. Maybe it means something related to history. I don't know. Let's see. Are we done?
Yeah. I'm trying to hang on. I missed the beginning.
No, you didn't miss anything. I go straight into it because in order for me to say more, we need to work first. And so from this definition, we now ignore the word that we just made and choose a box again, gray box that you didn't wrote. Okay, then I choose this one. Then again, made up a new word from this definition and write it underneath in the blue box.
And we're continuing to make up words. We are not connecting it to an existing word, right? No. Okay.
Yeah, we now we are continuing to make new words.
Okay.
So if you think that is fun, then we can do more layers. Otherwise, we can also move on to the next section, but let's complete the second layer first. Recipe that diverge from the original instruction.
Why you don't fucking... sorry. The thing won't write for me.
Double click, try to.
Yeah, finally. I don't know. I'm too slow here.
We can help.
Yeah.
German word for internet stalker. What can it be?
I don't know German. Das
Worst net. Like the sausage.
Sounds like sausage net.
Yeah. Exactly.
Write it. Worst net. Okay, again, pick a word that you didn't make and make a... I want this one. and make a definition for it. And this time, try to make two definitions for it. So it can be it can be the first one if it's used as a noun, second one used as a verb, or it can simply be two definitions. Or more if you can see more. Mm, do you think you want to do one more layer, or we move on?
How would we?
So the next part would be we use the word that we invented and make sentences, and you write a sentence using the word that we invented, and then you can add upon others writing also.
That sounds nice to me, actually.
So if you I think we can write. We can start writing now, and if you think that there's not enough word for you to use, then you can do a layer by yourself. So the point of this workshop is so that tell you that it's possible to make an entirely new language by ourselves, because there's a theory saying that the meaning of a word is constituted by understanding the difference between one word or two word or three word. For like if the language only has the word bad, you do not understand what is bad, because there's no such word called good, or such a word called great or nice, and so you do not understand what bad means. And in this exercise, we are actually trying to copy, trying to transform and combine the words. So using the theory that I just said, because the meaning of a word is constituted by other words, so which means if we understand what this word is different from that word and the other word and the other word and the other word, then we can make new words, something like this. So all these 8 words that we invented actually came from the single word archive, but then we sample a part of it and we emphasize that part, and then again we do this process. And as I say, like a lot of the times philosophical texts, they want to mean something something really particular or something really weird. For instance, maybe he want to talk about an inspiration that you can gain from looking at a poop. There's no such word that can say this, right? So he has to invent a new word to illustrate this point. Fuck. And so in my experience, when I'm reading a philosophical text, it's like solving a puzzle. And this is what I do. I will take the word that he invented, like here, and then based on the context of the book, I will use in my own words, write a definition for it, because a lot of the times the way they they explain it is really terse and really hard to understand for me. So this is the process of me actually solving puzzles in philosophical text. But in this workshop, we are not solving any puzzles. We are actually making puzzles. And so now the last part is to finish our puzzle, which is we should try to make sentence or like a paragraph that make use of these eight words. And so if other people has to read this text, this paragraph, they have to solve the puzzle. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
So to the side, there's the white bars where we can write our story.
This feels so absurd.
It's very much a simulation of sort of like reading like philosophical fucking writing.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that sort of you need a wider context to assign any meaning or context to specific words, in that they would serve a context within a bigger understanding, but usually it's so fragmented.
Shit. Let me see what other people write. The grotto in village is an example of an archive.
I started simple.
Yes.
Nice.
Very nice. Thinking back about was here in the time internet stalker. Following the
Oh wow, Nicholas, you used so many of them in that one sentence.
But it's not such a good sentence.
I'm a little confused by it, but
let's try to read what other people wrote and edit. See if we can try put it into a paragraph. That might be interesting.
You mean like explain what we understood in a paragraph?
No, just read what others has wrote, and then if you see something you want to add, then please add it, and
Okay.
then maybe in the space next to these boxes we try to use these sentences, edit a bit, and make it into a paragraph.
Okay.
So before that she felt it wasn't. And it was the momentum.
No. Am I even writing it?
Oh, by the way, if you think that some of the meaning of some word changes, or you see the meaning of the invented word has added, then feel free to update the definition of the word.
Good.
Nice.
Because it offered something totally different from traditional art scene. That's why it was some sort of became a fundamental part that created our art today. Basically, this is it. It is widely recognized to be a cubist baby by a lot of people, but this is, again, something really debatable, and there's a lot of sources that will say that it was, a lot will say that it wasn't. So also, Lisa talked about it, about photo montage. And photo montage as well as collage, and I would like to separate them right now, because, and again, it's another debate. It is debated whether photo montage is a part of collage or whether it's by itself. But I would like to refer in this presentation that they split it up, because I think that they did. Photo montage basically started when the photography was created. They had shared a lot of similarities with collage, but they split later on. I would say even as late as the 30s, 1930s. So we're gonna go for the basic types of collage. And I wouldn't say that there are types, they're more of styles. And it's not that it's so strict. It is more widely that a lot of those different types are combined in one work, like application. It is basically just like gluing something onto something which was prepared before. And it's not really strict on the material that you're using. It could be actually whatever, like something that is gluable. Of course, assemblage is basically just a type of collage where you kind of remain a strict like association array of everything. Like you do not put a lot of different images that normally don't fit together. It's usually one-toned, remains in one color spectrum. Usually pretty, I wouldn't say, it's not colorful. It's not, don't want to use the word blend, but you know what I mean. Bricolage, it's kind of a fun thing. It's when you, it's more of a, it could be also referred not also to like a paper collage, but it also is made from like statues are made from it, something like that. A lot of things, even clothing. It's basically when you put something in one context that it's definitely should not be in this context. Something that is totally random. And it's kind of usually applied to design and decoration, like most of the time. Like decoupage is, how to say it? It's when you glue stuff onto, it's more of an opposite of bricolage. It's also working with physical materials. Like for example, I don't know, a stool, but then you glue paper onto it. It's more of a gluing different layers of paper onto something. Then, I mean, I guess y'all are not dumb, but I had to include it. The tools, I gathered a lot. Basically the pillars, the cutting stuff, the adhesive stuff, the source materials and the additional materials, because collage does not absolutely stop on you just gluing something onto paper. As we've seen by different types of collage, you can paint on it, you can do whatever on it. Also, you could do everything that you want, and you can do nothing of those because you could make it digital and not physical. That's great about collage. It is extremely flexible, and it always was, and that's why it took off for a lot of artists, because of how different and how manageable and how it was completely free and without rules. I just include pretty much basic materials that are available, basic tools, kind of stuff that would be helpful for you. Obviously, this presentation would be sent to y'all by email, so you could reach this material after it. So we're coming to my personal tips and tricks. And I would say that's a combination of mine and a combination that I find on the web from other people. So if you are a newcomer, never done it, you are struggling, find an old book, find an old magazine, trying to find an image that you like, and just build around it thematically. Do not really like stress. Like really try to find a single strong image that you like, that you want to put a certain meaning in or not, and try to build around it. Also, something that is pretty important that is changed over the years, the contemporary collages tend to be way more simple visually than collage of 20th century. And I wouldn't say that it's a mistake, but a lot of newcomers look at the old people's collages and they overdo it visually. The image become really like heavy and not easy to read by the eye. It would become a bit tiring to look at it. It's not necessarily that you should keep it simple. You should acknowledge what and how you put and what you put together, what imagery. Like, we're gonna go to the connection part a bit later. Like, and again, and because collage was actually like a more of a fight medium. First collage was shined by John Hartfeld, and in his collage he made satirical stuff about Hitler and his regime. And for the longest time it was about social commentary and things like that, and it's not necessarily should be that. Absolutely. Don't stress to put serious meaning into it, because at the end it should be fun. And like, don't, if you're not ready, and like, don't stress yourself into those type of situation. And again, no restrictions on materials. Who said it needs to be only paper? No one. Fuck them who say it. It's about mixing layers and textures. I guess you guessed it, but something like this should be stated. You could cut stuff, layer edges, layer strict geometric shapes with less geometric shape, like in the background. You can see the image was ripped, not cut. You could do a lot of stuff with it. And we are coming to, I think, the best advice that I could give is to, when you start collage and when you start this medium, and I'm going to show, try to prepare like you, oh my God, why you're doing this? Like, just 1 second. I can't do it. My God, you can see I have I have this. This is a thick thing of my cutouts for collage. It is the most important thing in collage is sourcing your material. It's to extend on your visual library, go for things, cut out things, prepare things, not necessarily for one piece, but for whatever piece in the future. Like, make life easier for you. And that's why, for example, I wanted to make a collage with you today, but I didn't, because that's the big part of it, sourcing your material. And it takes sometimes a lot of times to find nice images. And it just would be plain and boring if we did it all together right now in a short, limited amount of time. Because collage is pretty much about extending your visual library and finding more and more images to work with. Now I've made list of people to check out with either their websites, if they're not alive, something about their biography, official sources. All of those people are important to this community. Now we could discuss some of the complementary issues quickly. No, it is now a joke. You don't usually see a lot of collages because they're kind of despised in art community and absolutely neglected for the sole reason of this workshop, because of copyright stuff and all the stuff like that. Because a lot of critics and other big people in our community think that it's kind of easy to glue and throw stuff together and call yourself an artist, you know? And it is also true because collage has a really low threshold of coming into this medium, but it is extremely high ceiling. You should always remember that, because this craft is really hard to master, but really easy to come into this community and to start doing this, like start to experiment with this medium. Because some people achieve crazy goals, and I have some examples of two people extremely important named Keiichi Tanami in not only contemporary art, but in the collage. He is, by the name, you could understand a Japanese artist. He is extremely cool. I've linked his website. Check him out. Betelgeuse, he's more of a contemporary guy. And check all of those people art and support them, please, because this community is neglected, despised. Please give them love and support. Subscribe to their Instagrams, give them likes, other things. Couple of other more contemporary artists. Thank you. I'm gonna give. Also, this is going to be sent to y'all. You want to check those people. So I'm gonna shut up and give a word to Nadia.
Hello. I'm just gonna quickly show you a presentation, and then we'll get to doing stuff. So I would start by saying that glitch art in general is kind of divided. One side of it is the true glitch, which would be artists that go out of their way to purposefully find errors in programs, or purposefully destroy. Maybe let's start like this. True glitch would be the one that is found and like outside of artists' own practice, but it also can be purposely made, which would make it, intentional. But if an artist intentionally actually breaks the file, it still is somewhat a true glitch. It's a bit different when it's just, which is quite common nowadays, where something is made to look like a glitch, like added some overlays or stuff like this, like edited in Photoshop, just, changed colors and stuff like this. That wouldn't be really considered to be an actual glitch, right? Like it's just made to look like it, which doesn't really count. So this is an example of an artist that goes to OS maps in 3D mode and looks for specific errors that make the map look like it's completely broken, which it is. It is a glitch in the program. And he, I guess, appreciates it for the visual quality, which I also do. This is an example of a purposeful glitch, like made on purpose, yet still, real enough to be called a glitch. really interesting effects. And there are also many subtypes of glitch art, I would say. This would be one of the oldest pioneers, I would say, of video art in general, using more of like, not digital, obviously, but more like analog technologies, which is also possible. For example, using magnets on TVs, which interfere with the magnetic field and create, again, interesting visual effects. One of the things that is going to be kind of like a popular theme, I would say, would be all those like colors coming through. This is something that we're gonna do today, or something of that sort, which would be data bending. And I tried to add some outside resources that you can later go to, some links that explain the topic further and give more examples. But this would be something that we will do today. Is how it works is that you can take any file and convert it into raw data, which would be just a string of characters. And that way you can do anything to it. For example, when you take an image, you can read it as a audio file and add audio effects to that image, which would then, for example, if you add echo to an image, it would take parts of the image and repeat them over and over again, which would then, if the data is turned into an image again, would create some interesting effect on it. We're gonna use a script for that. We're not gonna do it like physically ourselves. Everything is kind of like, you know, programmed in the script, and we're just gonna be clicking buttons, and it's really easy and really actually, I don't know, rewarding and satisfying to use. And those effects are going to be audio effects coming from Audacity, which is one of the programs that artists usually use to achieve this effect manually as well. There are some other artists that you should also check out. This is an artist that talks about misalignment, which is produced by opening a digital file in one program designed for a different type of file, which is what I kind of talked about already. These are like very similar to each other. And he talks about his use of Audacity in his works, where you can select a section of the file and apply one of the built-in sound effects to it. So for example, if you were to apply an echo effect, then it would repeat parts of the file, diminishing the repetition after each iteration. This is something similar, like an effect that he achieved. Here you can see on the left the original file. This is slightly distorted and then quite melted on the right side. This is one of his other works, and I think it's an interesting example of how it can, like the glitch art that's very, very, you know, digital, can exist outside of the screen and be transformed and into something more maybe physical, or just to add another layer of life to it. It's a projection of some type of glitch put onto a human body, which adds this interesting shape, those interesting kind of organic shapes to something that's clearly very rigid and, you know, mathematical. It's a nice combination of both. So yeah, I think that would be it. Again, there's a little bit more resources in the links. Can you see my desktop screen now? Okay, cool. So if you downloaded everything, which I hope you did, you should now go to the sonification master folder. And in there, there's another folder called sonification. And in there, it's this file, sonification.pd. So if you have that open, you should have a little sketch open up like this. And that's basically it. So now the fun part begins. You can just click play, run here, and let me know if you have any errors, because you could have. If you have a problem, unmute and tell me what's up.
No, it's just opening the process.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Because there could be an error pop up. Let's see. Okay, mine works. Sometimes there's a problem in one of the lines, but it's an easy fix. So if everything worked and you see this other little image pop up, now you can simply click on it and it's just gonna apply random filters from Audacity onto this file. And what's really nice about it is that you can put any file you want in here, any image you have that you want to play with. This one is the one that's being used. It's in that folder. It's called test.jpg. So this is how it originally looks. It's just a little clay figure. If you want to use your own, you have to put it in this folder. And an easy way to work with it would be to rename it test and make it a JPEG. But you can also just simply find it in the script itself. You would just have to go like Command F and find test to see in which line it is, because you don't want to go one by one. So there it is, string file name equals, and here you can put any name of the file that you have, and any, I mean, I think it's only JPEG and PNG. I'm not sure if like anything else, I don't think anything else would work. And then whenever you work with a new image, little folder is gonna be created inside this folder, the sonification folder, with all of your images that you save if you choose to save. You can save an output image by clicking space. And when you do that, it should be here. A new folder appeared called test. And there's like, you know, a bunch of stuff. Whenever you save, you can click F to completely randomize the filters. But there's also this little right on top where also the setup file name is. Actually, I don't even know that it's right there. So yeah, it's really easy to find. Here you have everything is explained. Press space to save, C or click to randomize effect settings, F to randomize filters, R to randomize raw settings, and B to batch process files from folder, which also is possible. So just click some, you know, buttons, space to save, and it saves the full image because the preview is a square, but if you have something that's a rectangle, it's gonna save the full resolution. So don't worry about it, it's not gonna get cropped. And that's it. Hope you have fun. Hope everything works. I don't know.
It does well for me.
Great, awesome. And I personally use it a lot to create like covers or posters. Then you can go into Photoshop and like, you know, add some stuff on top of it, delete some stuff. It's really fun. It's a good like creative exercise, I would say. Not necessarily for the final output, but just to kind of let go and let the computer do some creative thinking for you. I like the surprise element of it in general in glitch art. I think it's also quite, you know, not controversial, but maybe a little bit like disliked in art because there's so much of it now, and there's a lot of this fake glitch that I was talking about. But if you really let yourself destroy some files, I think it's quite anti-capitalist as well. Like the from the presentation, you know, from this video that the guy talked about. I think this also is quite like that. So yeah, have fun.
I think we got enough people.
Okay. I will first share the link to download. So there's a package of things there with the things that we will use in the workshop. And
I'm downloading the logic prop, but it's very slow.
I am trying to share the screen, but I can't share it. So I will just drop the presentation here.
You need a permission from Sofie, or?
It asks for a permission from my laptop, which I can't change for some reason.
Okay.
I will try it.
Are we basically putting sound on the video? More or less? Because I have Premiere and all that stuff too.
Yeah, you can use whatever DAW you're.
Yep. Okay. Because yeah, I have Premiere and Audition.
So in order to share the screen, I have to quit and reopen the whole thing.
Oh no, Jeremiah left.
Should we just continue?
Okay, I downloaded the film and we'll download some sounds now.
Okay, so I will do the presentation when he's back then.
So what are we waiting for?
Did you download the presentation?
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry, I just got it popped up. What?
So there's a short presentation about sound sampling, and it's mainly focusing in the legal and aspects and ethics of using them. But first, what is sound sampling and music sampling? It's reinterpreting pre-existing materials and assigning new meanings to them. And the act of sampling as an artistic strategy explore this through sound medium by exploring how you can cut and divide an original piece or pieces and make something entirely new and exciting. And the reuse of a portion or sample of a sound recording in another recording. The elements of a sample can be rhythm, melody, speech, sounds, entire bars of music, and may be layered, equalized, speed up or slow down, repitched, looped, manipulated. So basically a sound sample can be anything that is sound. Originated in 1940s with this genre of music, which was called music concrete. And it was an experimental music that was created by slicing and looping tape. And also the term sampling, it was first introduced in the late 1970s by the creators of Fairlight CMI, which was the first synthesizer that sounded the closest to a piano, but at the same time it had sampling features. And sampling became a foundation of many musical genres like hip hop music, which emerged with 1980s producers sampling funk and soul records, and particularly drum breaks to be rapped over. Sampling has since influenced all genres of music, particularly nowadays, especially electronic music and also pop music. There is some random facts about musicians and bands that use a lot of sampling technique, like Stevie Wonder's album Journey Through the Secret Life of Plants may have been the first album to make extensive use of samples. And the Japanese electronic band Yellow Magic Orchestra, they were pioneers in sampling, constructing music by cutting fragments of sounds and looping them. And their album Technodelic in 1981 is an early example of an album consisting mostly of samples. Then My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, 1981 by David Byrne and Brian Eno is another important early work of sampling, which incorporates samples of sources including Arabic singers, radio DJs, and an actual exorcist. Regarding legal and ethical issues, to legally use a sample, an artist must acquire legal permission from the copyright holder, which is a potentially lengthy and complex process known as clearance. Also, sampling without permission can breach the copyright of original sound recording of the composition and lyrics and of the performances, such as rhythm or guitar riff. The moral rights of the original artist may also be breached if they are not credited or object to the sampling. But mainly this refers to very well-known pieces, and it doesn't apply a lot to, for example, very old classical music and so on. Regarding journalist Simon Reynolds. He considered the situation of stealing and not crediting the samples as the man who goes to the sperm bank and unknowingly sires hundreds of children. But despite his really weird sense of humor, he's a really great music critic and theorist. And it's a great reference for anything related to music and popular culture. In 2019, there was a court rule that gave permission was required for recognizable samples, and modified unrecognizable samples could still be used without authorization. And then recreating samples to circumvent legal problems, producers may recreate a recording rather than sample it. But this requires only the publisher's permission and gives the artist more freedom to alter constituent components such as separate guitar, drum, and tracks. So basically it says that you can steal a sample as long as you modify it yourself. And the good news in the end is that there is an enormous amount of free sound archives and sound libraries in the internet, and they're royalty free. So, and this is all about the presentation. So now jumping to the practical part. In the folder provided in the Google Drive, there is a guide to the workshop. And there is one movie provided also in the folder, and from George Méliès. And it can be used, or also you could choose another one, which is around 1 to 4 minutes. To prepare the folder with sound samples, I provided 2 links to 2 free sound libraries, but there's many more. And these 2 libraries are completely royalty free, and the sounds don't need to be credited or anything. There's an article of how to find sound samples and how to legally use them. And then the length of the soundtrack is up to you, and it doesn't need to cover the entire movie. It depends on the timing. And it's also possible to just cut really short fragments. Then the rest, it's a Logic Pro tutorial for those who are using it. And finally, the outcome of the workshop should be sent to my email, and that is about it. I will be working as well in the meantime. So if there is questions about Logic, I think Liz, you're using it, so.
It takes forever to download. So I'm gonna use either Ableton or just Premiere.
Yeah, Ableton is great.
Yeah, I'll just I'll use Premiere and then send you as well.
Yeah.
How much time, when are you going back to the big group? Is there a time you're all meeting back again?
I think we left 45 minutes to each.
Yeah, from 30 to 45 minutes, but we're thinking of like making some break to catch up with each other if someone finishes earlier.
Okay, so about, we have like 20 minutes probably before we go back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Is this everyone?
Yes, it should be. There's a few people that I think just left, but
so soon the workshop will end, but for the for my part of the workshop, we successfully made a kind of weird language by ourselves, and we make a kind of weird story with it, and we would like to present our story. Sophie, can you share your screen? Or should I? Okay. Yes.
There you go.
So people from our workshop, let's try to read it and explain to them what is our story. Where are you?
I can just read out. Maybe I'll read out one of them because I think we ended up with 2-3 separate stories.
Yeah.
So we thought what she felt was historical but momented when she realized it wasn't. It was the momented when all the leaves paused in the air, and I realized narratively the muta recepta was historical because it is the muta recepta that is highly influenced by the worst net. The Herrenesen in his archive was brought to a momented when he was and he was making dinner following the ricey bee. Yeah.
So if we translate to the language, is like Sophie thought what she felt was what? Was like historical. We defined it as something like the feeling of intensely remembering something only to realize it's not your memory. So Sophie felt that it wasn't her memory, but momented it means like in that moment that suddenly goes to a sudden stop. She realized it wasn't her memory, and it was also that stopping moment when all the leaves pause in the air. I realized, which is like Sophie realized narratively, like is what is she realized the narrative that illustrates that specific moment that specific moment, the recipe that has passed down from generation is not exactly her memory, because the recipe that has passed on is highly influenced by the worst net, which means the part of internet or the part of people who the part of internet that is controlled or manipulated by broken people. So like the passed on recipe, or what Sophie thought was her memory, was highly influenced by these like bad people, and so it was kind of a weird thing, and turns out the people that is the part of the worst net is the Heran time, which is the internet stalker, and the internet stalker in his archive, which is a cave for that has short history, was brought to this this moment.
Like a sudden stop.
Yeah, this was brought to a sudden stop of the moment when he was making dinner following the recipe, which is a recipe that is diverged from the original instructions. So this story is kind of like, if I were Sophie, I probably felt like a mental breakdown from this thing, because what she believe all of them is like influenced by some some internet stalker and people that is weird in the internet, and is like her heritage is like broken.
But I think the first sentence is probably, it has like a double negative.
Yeah.
I think she does have the memory. That's
She
why
does.
when she realized it wasn't historical.
Ah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So this is sort of the simulation that we tried out in our exercise, where we basically tried to create new language within the context of the existence of building words on top of each other, which is something that we do in daily life. So that's sort of the core of our sampling exercise for language. And we created these other stories too. But I think it would also be nice to go over a little reflection of the other workshops.
Yeah. So
if anybody wants to share.
I mean, we had a presentation. It's my job to tell how good it was, because it's the job of people who listen to it to tell how good it was. I mean, Nadia.
I mean, what can I say? I think your part was good. I don't know if my part was
thank
good.
you.
But I mean, we try to kind of go over what the stuff that we do means, and I shared the little program. If anyone has any outcomes, feel free to share. If not, use it in your own time.
Are there maybe any takeaways from your workshop? Something that we've learned? A goal?
Me from my side?
Or from your participants? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean.
No, I think I didn't know any of the. Let me start my video. I didn't know any of the collage artists, so that was really great. And I have never ever even tried. So the tips that Daniel, I hope I'm saying your name right, gave were great. I'm actually thinking of starting one, so that's why I took the workshop. And about the processing, I've tried before, and I'm trying to find my image, but I think I've lost it on all these folders. But maybe give me a second, and maybe I can share.
Oh, you've been in the other workshop that I did, right? With John?
Like my class with John. I don't know if you know.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
like,
that was also me.
That was also you.
Yeah.
I recognize you now. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I have a mask.
She dyed her hair.
Yeah, you dyed your hair. That's great. Sorry. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I had some. You showed that to me in that class. So I'm trying to find them, but yeah, no, like in general, I really enjoyed it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
I mean, we are glad that you enjoyed it.
I think this is pretty much the end of our workshop. And
yes.
And thank you everyone for joining.
Really appreciate
you
taking your time in the time when you don't have the time.
And if anybody has any questions about any of the things that we discussed, feel free to hit us up. And I think, Daniel, you'll be sharing the presentation with anybody
I already
who's interested.
I will share mine too.
Cool. Well then, good luck with submissions, everybody.